When someone speaks English, you can often tell if they are Russian, Chinese, Egyptian, Indian, or French because their mother tongue affects their accent. This is completely normal and acceptable in languages. But with the Quran, it is a bit different. The Quran has to be recited exactly as it was revealed without being affected by the accent of your native tongue. That's why every learner, if they are able to, should always strive to refine and perfect their recitation. So we should always do the best we can. And so, in this video, I'll highlight the most common mistakes made by brothers and sisters from the Indo-Aryan language family. So speakers of Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, Bengali, and other South Asian languages. Their mother tongue can, in certain cases, affect how certain words are pronounced, causing some typical mistakes that can be remedied, inshallah. The first common mistake is with the letter waw. In many Indo-Aryan languages, words don't start with wa sound. So instead of saying wa, some people end up saying van. Sometimes it is subtle, but it is still noticeable when reciting the Quran. For example, وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ often becomes وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ. So, how do we fix this? Well, before you pronounce the letter, especially at the beginning of the word, make sure that your lips are already rounded like this. Wa. Wa. If you practice this lip position regularly, even just by blowing air through it to train your muscles, like this, and then add a little alif at the end. Wad. Wad. And then bit by bit you'll be able to pronounce words that start with this sound. Wa'ala. The second common mistake is turning the a sound or a light alif into a, or a version of alif that is between the light and the completely heavy alif. So instead of saying kanu with a light alif, some people would say kanu with an alif leaning more toward the heavy pronunciation. This happens when you open your jaws more than you should. So if you're making this mistake, you should control the space between the jaws. And certainly, make sure that they are not too closed or close to one another, because this can generate a mad, kenu, which is something we don't want either. The third common mistake is mixing the ghain with the sound of qaf when coming in the middle of the speech, which is something to be noticed in a word like al-maghdub, which is mispronounced as al-maqdub. This is caused by an incorrect makhraj or by pressing too much on the point of articulation, so much so that air gets trapped and generates sound that is a mixture of ghain and qaf. Solution? Well, check your technique, so make sure that you are at the right point of articulation. And second, you must let air flow to generate the proper sound. Next, the letter Lod. Yes, it is one of the most difficult sounds in Arabic, and yes, it causes a lot of trouble for many learners around the world. The biggest problem for many learners from this area specifically is turning it into a different letter, Vol, which causes the meaning in many cases to change. Dhal means to go astray. Dhal means to stay. And also as equally problematic is pronouncing it as a heavy za, zal, changing the word even more. Solution? You will find numerous guides on this channel on how to properly pronounce Lod, or at least come the closest to how to pronounce it properly. But what you should absolutely not do is turning it into a different letter completely. Common mistake number 5. adding dhamma or waw to heavy letters. This is really one of the most common mistakes when trying to apply tafkhim. Some people even go as far as putting an O when transliterating heavy letters, saying khayr, طالب, خالد, while the fullness of the letter is done by raising the back of the tongue and lowering its middle part, creating a hollow space inside, causing the letter to sound full or heavy. So, we should say kha, khayr, not kho, khayr. Ta, talib, not to, طالب. Kha, Khalid, not Khalid. Common mistake number 6. Pronouncing the ya mushaddada with a hint of ja sound, like in the word iyyaka and pronouncing it as iyyaka. This problem is caused by a wrong makhraj, especially when raising the middle part of the tongue too much, which then narrows the opening too much that it generates a jad sound. The solution is to make sure that the middle part of the tongue is raised enough to pronounce the ya with shadda correctly and with the correct number, but not too tight that airflow is stopped or causing the sound to change. Finally, another very common mistake is pronouncing the heavy lam in the best name improperly, not fully heavy or fully light. Normally, when we say the best name, we say Allah. The mistake happens when the back of the tongue isn't raised enough and or the tip of the tongue is too tense at the makhraj. Allah, Allah. The solution is simple. Relax the tongue. Don't strongly press the tip of the tongue at the point of articulation and tense it up and ensure that the back of the tongue is raised properly. Allah, not Allah. So these were just some of the most common mistakes that I've come across. But there are, of course, others. If you've struggled with something that I didn't mention, please share it in the comments so that we can make a follow-up video on them, inshallah.